With farm and ranch land dwindling due to population growth and development, the question comes up, who will raise our crops and livestock and preserve the resources we need to sustain life?
That is the focus of a feature documentary film about land use called Losing the West. We'll talk to filmmaker Alex Warren in just a moment, but first let's actually take a look at the trailer.
My first impression of him was, oh my God, he's tough. He's probably forgot more about horses and cows than most people will ever know.
Take him out.
When I was a kid, we had one stoplight on Main Street. Why the people keep coming and coming, I don't know. There's nothing here except agriculture, basically.
Ranching does not have a lot of viability over land values in the West.
It takes several $1 million to get started, and if you got that much money, why would you want to work that hard?
The fertile land should be saved for agriculture, but we do the reverse because people say, wow, it's a beautiful place to live here.
These guys are the start of the food chain here.
Agriculture is vitally important for rural economies.
I ask myself, where and how are we going to find food to feed twice as many people?
Fully half the water we use is to sustain grass landscapes.
I think he's always known this day would come eventually.
One of the great things about conservation is not a left issue, it's not a right issue.
Wanted to know that I could provide food for my family. That was the powerful beginning.
It's not a massive lifestyle change.
I think it might be for the best. Who knows?
There are just some things not for sale. Being a cowboy is not for sale.
Well, filmmaker Alex Warren joins us. Alex, I'll tell you what, just in this trailer, I felt educated and I felt like you were pulling at my heartstrings. All of that in that short little trailer, beautifully shot.
Oh gosh, thanks a lot.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Tell me a little bit, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, but why do this documentary?
I grew up in Colorado and was surrounded in, our small family ranch was surrounded by neighborhoods that there's Telluride, there's Montrose, there's Ouray, and these towns, one is a resort, and these towns tend to have massive growth, and a lot of our neighbors were struck with this problem, and as I learned about their problem, that the value of their land far surpassed anything that they could possibly ever make off of farming or ranching. Most of the time as they aged and their kids couldn't take over or didn't want to because they'd make more money going somewhere else and doing something else, they'd sell their land, and then it becomes this vicious cycle, and the land gets developed into, you know, at best 35-acre ranchettes, and so you see sort of sprawl into areas that traditionally were either agricultural or open space, and I wanted to find out what you could do to stop the trend.
Yeah. Right. This, I mean, it brings up tons of important questions that people wouldn't, I think, maybe know otherwise. And so what was it like casting for this to convey the message appropriately?
That's awesome. Well, I started by interviewing people in the area where our ranch is, and the answers that they came up with were really interesting and very specific. Okay, there's all kinds of tools that you can use. You can do conservation easements. There's state programs in Colorado that assist in helping preserve open space, etc. But that was not enough of a pull for the film to be exciting or interesting. So one day, this old cowboy walked into our ranch, and I was riveted. I felt like I'd been taken back to the 19th century, and I couldn't, I just was like, this is the guy who's the face of my film. So I followed him for almost 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so he's the central character, and like you said, we followed. And I love some of the statistics that are in there. We got a personal story, and obviously you're trying to get people to do something, to evoke something.
Exactly.
So if someone is watching, watches this and then wants to do something, how can they help?
In the film, we definitely go into a few things that are just sort of very basic, and especially if you're living in the West of the United States, there's all kinds of conservation efforts that are on our website and that are on websites that are far more developed than ours, with the Nature Conservancy, etc. But there are things that people might not know that much about, and that is conservation easements and organizations that promote those.
Definitely. And the movie has amazing scenery and a wonderful message, and we want to thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming. Losing the West will play today at the University of Arizona. For more information, you can call 310-696-9964 or log on to losingthewestmovie.com.
Stick around, The Morning Blend will be right back.